Hi, and welcome to a series of videos that I am making. This is the first one in the series where I'm going to go step by step how to, or at least how I create clothes for Second Life and rig them. Okay, so it's going to be a series of videos. I don't know how many videos they are going to be. I'm going to maybe try to break it down into short videos, hopefully like 5-10 minutes long each, so that they'll be a little easier to follow. And as usual, I'm just sort of winging it. I don't have the patience to write out a script, as you probably can tell. Okay, so the flow that I normally do when creating clothes for Second Life is I make clothes in Marvelous Designer. I bring it in to one of a number of different programs to retopologize that clothes, to create the UVs, and then to rig it. But before you can make clothes in Marvelous Designer, you have to have an avatar to make your clothes on. And so figured we really need to start at the very, very beginning as to how to get the avatar into Marvelous Designer. And that's what this video is going to be about. Okay, now if you're new to Second Life, there's a bunch of different mesh body designers out there, Slink being one of the most popular ones, and that's what this body is right here. And this is Blender. Now this is the one version older Blender than what's currently out, but this is Blender. You don't have to have Blender. You can find, like Slink, she actually happens to have a developer kit that has Maya files in it so that you don't have to do this. But this is just sort of demonstrating if all they give you is a Blender file, how do you get that avatar into Marvelous Designer? And how do you get it into Maya, in Maya Star? So I'm gonna demonstrate to you how you can do that. And most mesh bodies in Second Life are created in Blender. And so most likely you will get a Blender file when you get a dev kit. Unfortunately, I can't distribute dev kits because I don't have the copyrights to distribute dev kits. Those belong to the mesh designer themselves, and they're the ones who you get the dev kits from. Okay, so here we are in Blender, and I'm sure the newer Blender is slightly different color scheme, but it all works pretty much the same, I'm sure. Okay, now this one we're seeing right here, this is over here is your like your outliner. That's what I was trying to remember. It's I just got up not too long ago, so forgive me. It's Sunday. Anyway, so this is like your outliner, and these are all the meshes, and the little eyeball tells you what's visible, and that's right now it's the original, but that's not the most popular one for Slink. The most popular one for Slink is the hourglass. This is the one that's most popular for Slink. Okay, so once you have the one visible that you want, and you have to have this selected. That means when you click on it, you can actually select it. Okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to export out of Blender a DAE file. Now, if you're going to be using this method, you have to have Avastar. There's no other way around it. I have tried it as many different ways as I could possibly try, with every format I could possibly use, and I've never been able to get any other format to be able to import into Maya other than an Avastar DAE, which means you're going to have to buy Avastar. So if you're at all serious about making clothes for Second Life, simply because every mesh avatar that's made in Second Life practically, with the exception, I think Tonic was made in Maya, with the exception of one or two. They were all made in Blender, and all their dev kits come with blend files. Now they usually do try to provide, many dev kits provide you with other formats such as FBX or even Maya files. And so, but this is just if you really have to. And this is all they give you as a blend file. So, okay, so after you select your body, what you can do is you go File, Export, and you come here to Avastar DAE, not Collada default DAE. That doesn't work. Believe me, I've tried it. You go Avastar DAE, you click on that. The settings are pretty much just the default settings. You know, at least these are the ones that I'm going to be using. SL rotate, you know, these are all just the default settings, I believe. And so let's go to desktop, and we'll call this Hourglass for video. How about Slink Hourglass for video? Okay, and you just double click and it exports out, and that's okay. It's giving us this warning. Okay, so now we come into Maya. Okay, now in Maya, you come to your Maya star, and we come here to dev kit import, and there's different ways you can bring it. This is primarily for FBX, this first way. The second way is for DAE, and then there's a third way that you can use as well. But we'll just do this first way. Okay, so it says use an empty scene only. Okay, so we first click number 1, step 1, and we'll go to desktop. And we got to change this to DAE. DAE FBX, and there's Hourglass for video. Double click on it. Okay, I'm going to hit F on the keyboard, and you'll notice it comes in all messed up like that. That's fine. All we have to do is then come back to MayaStar, go back to the dev kit import. Let me tear that off. Okay, and you do step number 2, dev kit prep or prepper, fixes skeleton and mesh. Okay, now I'm going to hit F again on the keyboard. And there's the avatar. Okay, it does have a skeleton. You know, there are the bones of the skeleton. Okay, so there it is, and this is the size of the avatar in MayaStar. Actually, this is the size that they actually. Well, this is the theory, and I've talked to a number of Lindens, and they all agree that they think this is what happened. When they were creating the avatars for Second Life, they thought they were working in meters, but they were actually working in centimeters, because centimeters is the default scale, or the working units for Maya. Whenever you start a new scene, it always starts you off in centimeters, working units. So they thought they were working in meters, which is what the working unit of Second Life is meters. So they made this avatar thinking it was in meters, when really they were making this little tiny avatar instead. So all the appearance sliders and everything was created in Maya in centimeters, and so when I created MayaStar, and it was just easier to keep everything in centimeters, because that's what everything was originally made for, and that's by Linden Lab, and that's what the files that they provided. There were files at Linden Lab gives out, and you can find them on the wiki page of OBJs, the avatars, and even rigged files or whatever, the basic rigged files of an avatar, and they're all in this tiny avatar. So that's what I got to start with, and so I just kept it with that, since everything else was basically based on centimeters. So anyway, we got the avatar to be the right size. Okay, so then we do step 3, myasterize the dev kit. And we're going to say, yes, it's a female. And it's just, yeah, and it's a bento. But actually, it's not, this isn't quite a bento because she doesn't have any fingers. So it doesn't really matter. You can say bento or not. We'll do original skeleton. Now let's do bento. It doesn't really matter. Well, we'll do regional skeleton. Okay, and then we say myasterize dev kit. And so now it's going to myasterize it. Alrighty, now it's myasterized. Okay, now that it's myasterized, we have all the walk animations, and we have you can go to bind pose. Oh, we have the female appearance editors. All the sliders work. Okay, but we don't necessarily really need that for what we're going to be doing right now. But it was, might as well myasterize it while you're at it, because what we're going to do is we're going to export out a number of different poses, and also we're going to export it out in a different size. We're going to export it out as the size of the actual avatar, because if we export this out to get it ready for Marvelous Designer, it's going to be really tiny and it's not going to work well in Marvelous Designer. We need it to be big. We need it to be the size it is in Second Life. Okay, so let's close that. Let's come here to, I'll rip that, tear that off. Okay, let's go to bind pose. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to, let's see, we want to go to meter scale. So we change from centimeter avatar size to meter, or what I call meter scale. Now it doesn't actually change the working units, it changes just the avatar itself to make it the size that the avatar actually is in Second Life. Okay, so now that we have the avatar the correct size, we need to rotate it so that it's in the proper, see, Second Life Z is up. Second Life Z is up, while in Marvelous Designer, Y is up, which is way more common in the real world. Second Life is one of the few places that uses Z up. There are one or two other places out there that use Z up, but the vast majority of video games and programs all use Y up. And so we need to prepare to get to Y up. So what we can do is we can create a locator. Okay, and then open up your outliner. And we are going to, oh, no, sorry, we don't need to create a locator. Duh. By making it meter scale, it created a locator, and it parented the pelvis bone to the locator. So that makes it a lot easier. Just select the avatar skeleton locator and hit E on your keyboard to get the rotate tool. And then what we need to do is we need to rotate the avatar 90 degrees so that, let me move this out of the way, we don't need this now, so that it's facing negative Y. See, there's Y down there. That's positive Y, that's negative Y. So it's facing negative Y, and then we're going to rotate it 90 degrees again, so that it's pointing upward to Z. So what you want is if you're thinking from negative to positive on the Y, so as she's getting taller, the numbers are getting bigger, so that's positive. And that she's laying on her back facing upward, so that she's pointing towards the sky. Okay. Now that you have her in the correct position, all you have to do is select the avatar and go File, Export Selection. And we're going to export it out as an OBJ. Okay, and we'll go to Desktop, and we'll say Slink Hourglass T-pose. Okay. Yeah, we can leave all these off. You can make sure materials is off. You don't have to have materials on, otherwise it's just going to create a file that you don't really need. And we can leave these on, and that looks good. And you go export. Okay, now we've just exported our T-pose. Okay. Oh, if you don't see the OBJ, to export out as an OBJ, if you're really new to Maya, you go Window, Preference, Settings and Preferences, Plugin Manager, and then you scroll down until you see, where's OBJ export? It's in here somewhere. I just caught a glimpse of it just as I moved the slider. Wait a minute, where was it? Okay, let me pause it while I find it. There we go. Yeah, this is in alphabetical order, and I should have just been looking for OBJ export. So you just click Loaded and Auto Load so that it will auto load every time you open Maya. Sometimes that's turned off. Most of the time it's already turned on. And the other one is, let's see, FBX. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Wait a minute, where is FBX? Okay, let me pause this again. Okay, here it is. FBXMaya.mll. That's the DAE exporter. If it's not turned on in your Maya, if you just installed Maya and it's not turned on, that's where you turn it on. FBXMaya.mll. Normally it would be up in here. I don't know why mine isn't up in here. Historically, it's just been up in the very first section where you normally have your bins, or in your bin file, in your plugins folder. Normally it's in here and it's in alphabetical order, and it will just be under FBXMaya.mll. So that's where you turn on those. Okay, so let's close that out. Okay, so we've exported out our OBJ, and that's what we're going to be using in Maya. But it's always good to export out okay, so what I did is I selected the leg, and I'm going to rotate this out, right? Because I'm going to export out an A pose. Because sometimes A pose, like when you're doing pants, it's a lot better. And you can decide, do you want 5 degrees or 10 degrees? Basically, see where her thighs are rubbing together? You want to make sure there's no thigh rubbing going on. And so that was -5. Okay. So let's see, if I turn on Joint X-ray, you can see the joints. All I'm doing is selecting the joints. And then I have to deselect. I must have a selection thing set. Normally when you just drag like that, it will just select the bone and not the mesh, but I think I have a setting in Maya which is different. But so all I'm doing is holding down Shift after I select that, Shift click on the mesh body to deselect the mesh body. Most likely you won't have to do that. Bones have a higher priority than mesh. So normally it would have just selected the bone. But like I said, I think I went in my preferences and changed something. So anyway, so you see she has no more thigh gap. So that will make rigging easier. Okay, so to get back, let's see. So a typical A pose has the arms at 45 degrees. So that's negative 45. And then we'll do this one. This will be positive 45. Okay, so that's your typical A pose, but you can decide whatever you want. And so once it's in that pose, just go File, Export Selection, and we'll name this A pose. Okay, and it's good. Okay, the reason I'm doing it with an OBJ and not importing into Marvelous Designer something with bones is that Marvelous Designer does not have a way where you can import the numbers exactly to rotate the bones in Marvelous Designer. You got to eyeball it, and then you never know what the actual values of the arms and legs are. So it's much better to use OBJs for Marvelous Designer. So okay, so that will be in the next video. So I'm going to stop it here, and I will see you in the next video where we'll be importing those OBJs into Marvelous Designer.